he has the confidence that he can accept the loss.
As a point of interest, none of my men wear protection in the groin. None.
After all, you wouldn't want your attacker to get injured.
That hurt my foot.
And we're live. We are live. Welcome to Big D After Dark. Whether you're joining us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, or satellite, I don't know, whatever. We're glad you're with us. This is the show for FC Dallas fans to be interactive, to talk, to break down some FC Dallas action, and have a little fun while we're doing it. When the lights go down, we go live. And so welcome to another show on this Monday, March 21st. I'm your host, Nathan. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. There, or I should say the other way, is my buddy Jose at El Chico
Hola.
Carmona. Below, in the Brady Bunch style, is Tommy LaBeouf at Tom_FC Dallas. And finally, over in the other corner, whatever. Anyway, is Ismael at Belcora Isma on Twitter. And hey, FC Dallas won 3 points at home. There's no reason to lament tonight. We've had 2 weeks of FC Dallas victories. It feels like Major League Soccer 2022 is underway, and not just that, it feels different. This team is so much fun to watch. We'll talk about that. But let's just start with breaking down the game. I have some highlights to show. We'll do some post-game comments from Nico, from Paul Arriola, and from Jesus Ferreira. Of course, Jesus, the hat trick hero from this one, an incredible. After a little bit of a slow start to the season, and we talked about it last week at length. What a performance, and then also an assist to Paul Arriola. This was also a team effort. A lot of other things to talk about. Some defensive pieces there. Good goalkeeping. A lot of fun. This was a wonderful performance and a sold-out crowd in Frisco. So let's just start there. Let's start with our instant reactions. Jose, we'll start with you. I mean, what'd you love from this? What'd you love from this performance?
Well, I can't stop watching the replay of that first goal. I mean, watching FCD pass the ball around, trying to figure out how to break down the defense, and then all of a sudden you see the pass from Paxton that unlocks the defense. He finds Velasco, who times it beautifully fast, low, decisive. You have the dummy by Arriola, and then of course it opens the floodgates for Jesus, which is one thing we've all been saying is let's wait till Velasco starts and see if him being on the wing opens up the attack, and it does. It's like, you have a puzzle and you're missing a piece. You're gonna be able to tell, and now you see all the pieces are in the right place, and all of a sudden, an attack that showed promise and just couldn't finish. All of a sudden, it looks like it's mid-season form. I know that Portland didn't have their starting center backs, but I mean, this is the team that they've rolled out for the first 4 weeks, basically. So, and they hadn't lost, so maybe not as fortuitous as some people say. Yes, they can play better defense, but I don't see how, even with the starting center backs, they walk out of Frisco with a draw against the kind of performance that Dallas put forth. Very exciting.
Tommy?
Yeah, exactly what Jose mentioned, and I've always kept my guns that Ferreira was a good forward, but he is also the kind of forward that needs good team play. And Nathan Uax coached just a couple of weeks ago about Ferreira, and his answer was everybody's got to play well. Well, that pass from Paxton was pretty amazing. I mean, don't forget about how good that pass was to Velasco and how good that second pass was in the dummy. I mean, that is some of the best soccer I've seen at FC Dallas. And the quick takes that I have is, what about the fans in the stands? I mean, FC Dallas is pulling the right triggers. They're doing the right things. The word is getting out. People are definitely paying attention to this soccer. And I don't care how many times they played that Velasco goal last week. It's great to see the fans of the game. It's great to see the soccer. And furthermore, Coach is also making the right moves. He took Velasco out with a 3-1 lead. He took other players out. It looked like maybe Nanu got a little tired and got beat on that goal. And, brought in Tomasi. So he's still, developing Tomasi. O'Brien came in the game. So, I mean, coaching never stops. And you got to love it. It's really, really good. 2 thumbs up.
Ismael, it's your turn. And after last week, of letting us know that Jesus wasn't meeting your standards, give us your reaction.
Hey, I'll eat crow. I'll eat crow every day. I mean, if this is the price that I look like a fool, I'll be fine with that. I'm fine with that. I mean, we'll rave about Jesus. I think this performance is the kind of performance that puts you on the map, right? Because this is what got Pepe on the map. That hat trick against LA. That's what brought the eyes to his talent. And I think this when Jesus is thriving and when the system works, when this team fires at full cylinders, it has the best attack in the West. And I don't think it's controversial to say so. Because if it's like this every week, then we'll definitely make the playoffs and then some. Going into more details, I think Paxton and Cervania and Cerrillo really dictated how well this game went. Because again, they controlled a midfield that was very good. Because it's Diego Chara. And I mean, there's an amazing quote from 3 years ago where Diego Chara said, the player I hate playing against the most is Paxton Pomykal. And I mean, from Chara, that is an amazing level of respect. And I mean, we'll go into more stuff later, but my main shout out really was the supporters group to El Matador, to Dallas Beer Guardians. I was in the Rhine, and again, there were some really nice points last year where there was a lot of garnered support, but it feels like with the new era that we've been referencing with FC Dallas, it's not just on the field. I think the stuff that Dan Hunt said that the club is implementing to get more fans into the stadium was shown first off in this game, but in the stands for the regular fans, but the supporter section was completely full. It was capped. Even the sold tickets, I had to buy separate tickets and sneak in. So, I mean, it was amazing, and let's hope that this kind of fan base is replicated week in and week out, because that would be incredible.
It would be incredible. And I showed Javier's comment. Thanks for joining us, Javier. Saying it feels great to be an FC Dallas fan. It certainly does right now. And Jesus treating you to a hat trick was just a gift. Our buddy Ben says, I was impressed with the team play. The game showed how Nico wants to play. And I do think, because I he's a new coach. We expect there's still going to be some bumps in the road. It's a long season. There's a lot going on. A lot of things can happen. But we have seen from game 1 to this most recent game a clear improvement. And I don't buy the things about, oh, the team wasn't at full strength or whatever. Well, no team is ever completely at full strength. Or, we could still argue that Jimmy Marr will start again once he's healthy potentially. I mean, who knows? Every team is dealing with some kind of issue, and so. Those kind of arguments are lame. They're just lame arguments. This was a great home win. The only downside you can talk about, which we'll hear from Paul in just a moment, was how, the team probably took its foot off the gas a little bit, up 3-0, which is a common problem for most soccer teams. It's hard. You kind of relax a little bit, you settle in, and then a team takes advantage.
And I think it's also harder for such a young team. Dallas is still one of the youngest teams in the league, and of course, that experience of holding that big lead, that'll come hopefully with more practice.
Well, let's listen to some quick post game clips here. I'll start with the one from Paul Arriola, and then maybe Nico, and then Jesus. And we'll just sort of react to them, and from what we hear, here's Nico, and he's kind of responding to a question about how the team prepared, their tempo, playing faster, and things like that. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, that's Nico. Let's start with Nico then. We'll start.
I think the last game when I was here in front of you, I said that we weren't good in build-up. It's something that we had to improve during the week, and we focused all the week to improve that side of the team. And in order to Velasco receive the ball, we had to be better. And then it's a teamwork to provide that balls to him. If we are not improve our build-up, it's difficult to play fast and to give the ball in the right conditions to him. For that reason, I think a special mention to the center backs, the central mids, attacking mids to do a fantastic job, attracting the opponent, reading how the opponent was pressing, where the spaces were, and filling pockets to help us to break lines.
So, like Ismael, Coach Nico giving a lot of love to the center mids, the center backs, who sometimes don't get enough love. It's kind of like when they do a good job, sometimes we don't even notice because we're seeing other players score goals or get into attacking positions because of that kind of hard work. And so it's exciting to see, too, him talk about that build up, getting the ball into the right spots. And the week before, it took Velasco coming on to sort of, with his athleticism and his skill, to sort of create that space against a tired Nashville team with him from the get-go. And also everyone kind of firing on all cylinders. There was a lot of space to be exploited. But you're right, like, Tommy, that first goal, or Jose, that first goal, I guess you mentioned it, the timing, it just was instinctive, fun. It was just incredible soccer. It was soccer you pay any price to go see week in and week out. Ismael, do you think, as Ben said, this is how Nico wants to play? Are we seeing a glimpse of his kind of vision for where this team can be?
Yeah, because I think the whole idea was, especially with the midfield movement and the way that they passed and with the ball around, the main goal was to be able to get past Diego Chara. They recognize that the wing backs, especially Van Rankin, are very poor defensively, and they were able to exploit it. But to do that, there needed to be overloads, and I think their manipulation of space is probably the most important aspect of the buildup because the midfield consistently shifts, and they never stop. When we talk about the amount of running that Cervenia and Paxton are doing, it's not just on the defensive side. They don't stop moving when they're trying to create space for either Nanu and Farfan making runs, or when we see when Jesus drops back. That's the movement that I think we're talking about. Yeah, but it's when it works well, it looks beautiful, right? And I think that's the important aspect here, is that the reason why the first goal looks so good is because that is a set play. That is something that they practice, because that movement is, although it is sometimes intrinsic, it almost never works unless it's practiced on again and again. And that was the idea, because with Jesus dropping back, that pulled a center back, and that opened up so much space. And all he had to do was run from like 30 yards from goal, and he was going to beat the center back. And what the wingers and the midfielders had to do was find a way to get him the ball at that spot, and they did. The key now is to replicate it over multiple games, and I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do it. Fingers crossed. I mean, this kind of performance, when it's like clockwork, it tells me that it's not a one-off. Like if like it wasn't just the goals, the 3 goals in concession, it was it was the continual movement throughout the game, where they pulled those center backs, where Van Rankin looked like a middle school soccer player, where the 19-year-old center mid from Argentina, their young DP, couldn't do anything, and where Chara didn't do much. I don't remember Chara doing like a massive play, which is like part of his game. That's something that he'll pull out of the hat. So I mean, it's really wonderful to see that this is like set plays, and that this is how they're going to do it, and that it will work against a very good defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that what's exciting to me is, I'll take you back to last season. And last season, there was a disconnect between the backline, the midfield, and the attack. And I remember it being a big deal that the midfield seemed to be behind. It was catching up, and to the point that the attack really didn't get going till like mid-season. I mean, Pepe didn't have his hat trick till like July, if I remember correctly. I mean, we were waiting for that attack to get going, and the defense was actually pretty strong to begin with, and they had no support. But by mid-season, once the attack got going, then the defense got all banged up, and it went south. But we never saw an offensive performance like we've seen in the last 2 weeks. And mind you, even in the first 2 weeks, even though we weren't scoring, you were seeing hints of that. You were seeing the buildup. You can literally point and say there has been improvement every week, and that's what's exciting. Is now they've got the break coming up, and they get a chance to work on it some more. But what I'm excited about is we just never saw this last season. We never saw this attack kick into high gear so early in the season, that we were waiting for it to take off, and we were waiting for the midfield to catch up. And right now it seems that it's a team effort. It's you can't compliment one unit without mentioning the other unit, and that's what's exciting about this. See, I've been watching, like I said, replays of that first goal, of all the goals actually. I've been showing my friends, was like, look at this, nothing, it looks like nothing's happening, and all of a sudden, pass, goal, and they made it look easy. This is stuff that we've seen from higher end teams, from bigger teams in other leagues. Is there another team in MLS playing with a false 9? I mean, I don't know. I don't think there is. And if there is, I couldn't tell you who that is. Do you guys know? Curious.
I mean, Colorado has a striker who's probably better at playing as a false 9, but I don't think that's the way they want him to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it adds a unique problem for other teams to figure out. If Jesus is playing that false 9 to perfection with their wings, this is not something that they can basically say, okay, we're prepared to play Seattle, and they run some things that are similar to what Dallas runs, so let's make sure they can't do that. They can't do that. Dallas, I think, is the only team playing with a false 9, or at least the only one with an attack that is worth worrying about. So that's what's exciting about this. This is something different. And mind you, the league is a bunch of copycats. So I want to see this on the road before I get too excited about it. I want to see them score on the road, and I want to see the attack work on the road before I get too excited. But this is a league of copycats. And I want to point out that we could be seeing the start of a trend if Dallas can maintain this scoring momentum.
Ismael,
can't hear you, Tommy. Can't hear you, Tommy. You're muted.
All right. There we go. I think that's great if we have copycats, because I think that means the MLS is getting better and more good soccer is going to be played by other teams. But there's so much to be excited about. I mean, this team has only been together. This is like, what, 4 or 5 games? I mean, they're not even peaking yet. And Velasco has only played a couple games, and he still looks a little raw, young. He still looks like he's got a long way to go to get much better. If you remember Mario, I think that, when Mario first came, that's kind of where, Velasco is. He's pure raw talent right now, but he's going to get even better. And the same thing for Zeke, Tomasi. I mean, we got other players O'Brien, that's going to get better. But in the past, that pass that came from crossed in and the dummy from Arriola, in the past, whoever was that dummy player would have just kicked it over the net, right? So cheers to Arriola for letting that go, because the better shot was the easier shot from Ferreira. So, I applaud. So many applauses on that play. That pass was beautiful from Paxton. Velasco's one touch was amazing. The team played by Arriola, and just the finish. Total team effort. That's what we see every week so far. Team.
I want to point out the difference between Mauro and Velasco is Velasco is getting hit. He's getting bumped, and it almost looks like he's inviting the contact and holding possession.
So
exactly. But that's the difference I'm seeing between him and Mauro. Mauro would get hit and get knocked around, and Velasco isn't getting knocked around. He's basically playing off.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, he's playing off the contact and containing, keeping momentum and keeping that forward momentum, keeping possession of the ball, and it's got to be unnerving for defenses to say, hey,
his
okay,
first
go
touch
there,
is so
knock that guy over, and it's not happening. You're seeing him get hit from behind, hit from the front, and still that low center of gravity is visible to see, where you're saying, wow, this guy is his low center of gravity and his strength on the ball is, I'm not sure that we've seen that in FC Dallas. At least, not to this level. Can he? The question is, can he take that all season? He that's a lot of punishment to take.
Yeah, and I think the thing about Velasco is that, unlike previous seasons, he's not crucial to the team's style of play working. And that's why I think Ben's question is a really good question, because that is what this style requires. The IQ needs to, it's not just IQ. Like every soccer player that makes it to this level, almost all of them are pretty smart and know how a lot of types of styles and formations work. But there needs to be, the team needs to be such a cohesive unit that everyone buys in to this style. And that's why I think I'm so hyped on Velasco, because he looks bought in and he looks hungry. Like when he missed those 2 shots, he was not happy with himself. And that's what you want. You want that hunger, you want that desire. Again, the reason that, if everyone is bought in, which right now it looks like it, if everyone believes in this style of play, then when it hits off, and it's unstoppable. And I think its uniqueness to the league, like Jose was talking about, the only team that plays similarly is probably Austin, because that's how they do build up, and that's how that's what the strikers do. Musa Gite drops, Urruti drops. They just aren't very good at it. Like Gite cannot get into positions, and Urruti is Urruti. Uh, it's kind of funny that both coaches are U.S. men's national team coaches from Greg Berhalter's coaching family, basically, which is that's kind of like where this influence is coming from. When we say that they look like the U.S., this is what we mean, because besides the use of a false nine, this is the kind of interaction and cohesiveness that's required to play at this kind of style at a high level, and for it to click. This is that cohesiveness is so important.
Yeah, I think they have to buy into the team thing. But real quick is that Arriola and Ferreira just didn't learn to play together. They've been having training together at the USA camps for quite a while now. So I think that also good coaching to sell and get the team, whether, off the field, getting, because I hear that they all can't stay together with the same people. They always swapping up. It's the coaching, it's the buying into the team effort. That's what we're seeing here.
Well, let's listen to Jesus in his post game, and then we'll listen to Paul Arriola as well. And because Jesus was asked about, and Jesus is really good at short answers. I mean, he just doesn't go on a lot, which is great. Not great for media people who want to hear someone talk a lot. But he was sort of asked about the stress of those first few games of not being able to score, and it's really neat to hear how the coaching staff supported him. Let's listen in.
No, not at all. I mean, I can say that personally, for me, I had a little bit of stress on me because I wanted to be able to be that 9 that is always scoring no matter what game it is, if it's away or home. But my teammates and coaching staff, especially Nico and Peter, made it very clear that they believed in me, and then that once the first goal went in, and many more were going to come. So I'm excited, and I'm happy that the coaching staff had enough confidence for me to keep working hard and being in the right position.
All right, let's go to Zoom. We've got.
Yeah, I think just persistency, really. Continuing to get into good areas. I think obviously the more you play together, the more you're able to understand each other's movements, understand what is needed, and when you play in a system, and everyone is starting to understand that. I think we're learning where there's spaces. Every game there's a different challenge, and today we were able to put away good chances, and by we I mean Jesus. But it was great. It was a really good win. Obviously second half we come out a little bit flat. It's it happens all the time when a team is up by multiple goals. But I think the fourth one was just a dagger and kind of killed the game. So I was happy about that.
So good couple of post game comments. I like Paul's. I think by we mean Jesus. Yeah. But Jesus also kind of sharing that the coaching staff playing that important role of supporting this player as he adjusted to be the main striker, the main guy up top in his role, and and we talked about the DP contract earlier on previous episodes, the pressure that comes with that, and it is frustrating for any striker not to do be able to put the balls in the net, and to hear from Paul just how this team is continuing to gel and grow. So these are just kind of the things that we are. We've already touched upon, and I think are good signs. So I guess the question, though, so let's shift then. Let's just say, was there anything, great result, big win, is there anything, though, that we think, team still needs to work on this, and something shaky here or there, a player here or there that we're still thinking, I'm not sold on yet? Yeah, any thoughts around that? Tommy, what do you think? I'll let you go first.
There's no player that's sticking out to me that I'm want to complain about, and it's like what I'm going to do nowadays. There's nothing to complain about because everything has been good, right? Not really. The one thing that's been surprising to me is Tafari's had limited playing time, and I think maybe that's just because he's behind Martinez and Hedges, who are playing well, and but there's going to be a time where he's going to need to play, and so. No, I can't think of anything really to be.
Yeah, I think right now, I agree with Tommy. There's not much to complain about, and I want to point out that we're seeing the early signs of how that bench is going to have certain people that fit certain roles. With you've got Hara as your late game offensive punch. You've got Quinones was brought in to basically help kill the game, so he came in for Cervania, and they went to a dual defensive mid, him next to Surreal. And Tuamasi, of course, comes in for whichever, either the left back or right back, which is one thing I think we were talking about, that Tuamasi is probably going to be, if he's not starting, he's going to be a guy that's going to be asked to be the new Hollingshead, really. He's going to be asked to be the jack of all trades guy. And, of course, you still got O'Brien, who comes in with the fresh legs in the attack.
Sean, who hasn't even been here. Sean.
Yep, and Sean hasn't been there, and of course, I'm not concerned about him. I think he'll get his time. And then of course, you've got I had somebody else on my mind that I seem to have lost. You still haven't seen Jimmy play, of course. You've got Tafari, and all of a sudden, we're starting to see options on the bench. And I think the only concern is right now that we all have is what happens if Paxton or Cervania are hurt. I think that's really the only concern we have right now, is because right now their main backup is Tuamasi, who by the way has not Tuamasi, Siki, who by the way has looked great in the short amount of times that we've seen him. Not enough to say that he can start, but let's remember that he's the third guy, the last guy they picked in the first round out of three guys, and he's the guy that's looking like a complete steal. So I think that's really the only concern. We have had that concern since preseason, and we still have that concern that what happens if Paxton or Cervania go down. I think the answer is, you saw it in the substitution pattern, is I think if Paxton or Cervania goes down, you bring in Quinon and go to a dual mid, which will probably hurt the attack. And then you're bringing in Siki later for that offensive punch.
Yeah,
but
I don't
know. They're showing a lot of confidence in Siki, and I've always said, Thomas Roberts is coming, and I'm telling you right now, and I'll keep saying it, this offensive style works better for Roberts. It's a better fit than I mean, it's even better for what's his face that's in Chile now. He would have fit here better too. So
Coleman.
No, not Coleman.
Aranguiz.
I'm just saying they were wasted in Lucci's, but I think Thomas Roberts will come back and find that, hey, he has a spot on this team, and I mean, he would be a natural backup to a Paxton, and then Siki can then focus on being Cervania's backup. And that's in May. That's coming. That's only a little bit over a month to go. So I think that's why FC Dallas hasn't signed someone to back them up.
Yeah, in the beginning of the season, we were all worried about the midfield. That we didn't have.
Like I said, we're still worried about the depth, but Siki and Quignon have looked solid coming in. Siki more than Quignon, but still, they're finding their niche, and I think that's what you're seeing is, if the starting lineup can stay healthy, Dallas has niche reserves, and I think that's the best you can hope for this team. I mean, let's face it, this is just the first year. They're going to add more players next year, so they're looking this good right now. I think we have it pretty good. Let's hope they stay healthy.
Hot take.
All right,
Hara. There's going to be times where Hara's going to have great games because of this, because he's very technical with the ball, and if he gets service like Ferreira's getting, I think Hara can also be a great 9 up there. Yeah, he's a true 9.
I agreed, and I think that has more to do with the fact that Dallas has more weapons. Arriola, Velasco. I mean, can you key on one particular player? You would think that Cervania is the weakness, but Cervania probably has more shots than anybody on the team, and he's yet to bag one. but he's come close, and he's been fearless about it. He hasn't
He's most
hesitated.
improved. Most
He's
improved is
hesitated.
Savania. It's
So
really, really good.
yeah, so I would say, yeah, I mean, it's how healthy can this team stay will decide how far this team can go.
I think most improved is probably Surreal, just because Surreal was not even a starter last year, so he was incredible. He's incredible. When to go back to the things that needed to improve, during the game, like we talked about how they kind of put their foot off the gas in the second half, which I don't really care about if it weren't for the fact that it kind of coincided with Blanco being subbed in. And I think Blanco really changed the game for Portland in a way that could have been more influential if they had scored that goal with Aspria, where he skied it because he decided to shoot like Coleman that day.
Agreed.
Like, yeah, like Blanco was a special player that can be brought in and change the game in a matter of minutes. It was frustrating because they didn't seem to react until Nico did subs, and once Nico did subs, the Portland kind of cooled down. I wanted to see like the midfield kind of push up higher because Blanco stayed a little bit deeper, so he wouldn't be like stuck with those three, because if he was in those three, he wasn't going to be able to do the things that he did. So I just like a little bit more recognition. And I mean, I do have worries about the midfield depth. I do think those can be easily remedied if an injury comes. You just loan in Ferry, because then you start Quignon and you still have Siki, and then you have Ferry. I do think it's kind of weak as like when you look at how good the starting three are, but I mean, you're not going to have this kind of that those kind of players on the bench and be happy, which is why I think Sean, if he doesn't get his minutes, which we hope he will, is probably going to go, because that's what happens with quality players that don't make the 11. They're going to want to go. So, besides that, I don't have really any negatives. I'm excited. Like one of the players I'm most excited to see, or not excited, like anticipated. I'm like anticipating to see how they grow is Nanu, because again, besides the assist for Jesus' second goal, Nanu didn't do much, and there are sparks again, and I'm not gonna make the claim that he's bad, even though Tomasi is the best player on the team, of course. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Right. Okay. All
right. But I mean, as I think as Nanu gets closer with his teammates, like it's again new country, it's going to be difficult. Those things are going to take time, but he has an offensive skill set that I don't think really anyone else in the team has. Velasco can cross, but not exceptionally. Arriola can cross, but not exceptionally. Farfan can cross as well, but Nanu has done like 4 crosses in the span of 2 games, and I think we all think he is probably the best crosser on the team. The way he can get like pinpoint balls into the box is going to be useful, especially like in late games when you bring in Franco Jara when he can really head the ball. So it's going to be interesting how he grows, how he connects more, because again, cohesiveness matters on this team. I'd like to see more defensively, because he's not doing a lot of work defensively, and when he is getting beat a lot. So we'll see. He's an interesting player.
I wanted to respond to Javier, who said the best wings since Castillo and Barrios, and I'm going to take it a step further and say that this is a better wing pair than Castillo and Barrios ever were, because as good as those guys were, they were limited in what they could do. Barrios was a speedster who could terrorize you, but wasn't necessarily really good in the final third, and Castillo was the same way. He was just erratic, tons of talent, tons of speed, and then not so much. You were basically crossing your fingers and hoping he could pull it off, whatever he was doing. Arriola and Velasco are twin terrors, multifaceted. They're not just fast guys,
not selfish,
and they're both willing to work defensively, which Barrios and Castillo were hit and miss on that. So, I mean, you're talking about. I like Obrian and I like Shun, but there will be a significant drop off when they come in. It's a different style. I think these two guys are perfect for this system because of all the tools that they bring to the table. And Velasco's not a finished product. He's still growing. I mean, we still haven't seen everything he's got to offer, and I'm not sure we've seen everything that Arriola has to offer, but it's exciting. I think they're both their combined level. Even, and mind you, Arriola is 27, and I'm still telling you that these two guys have a higher upside combined than Castillo and Barrios had.
Okay, well, let me jump in there because Matt Doyle made an interesting thing, and I always have had a complex relationship with Matt Doyle for a lot of Major League Soccer fans.
I think we all have.
Do as well, yeah. But he did make the point that Velasco in that first goal, most wingers in this league who are fast, their instinct is to get the ball and go to the inline. Go to the inline, look for that cross. Look for that to make that play on the ball or whatever. And that's what Castillo did. That was his bread and butter, and it was frustrating at times. But Velasco trusted his instinct, what he saw, and he crossed, the first time, right? Which is different, which we don't see as often. We see instead players just try to rely on their athleticism to sort of create space and create an opportunity. So I thought Matt's observation there was pretty spot on.
Yeah, but I think it's also this team has such a different kind of style that I think if you put Velasco on those Pareja teams where the wingers, all they need to do is run and run and run and run, Velasco will do it. He'll probably just run and run and run. And I think if you switch out those moments of Castillo frustration for Velasco, probably Velasco scores more or is a little bit less selfish, but he'll probably still do that touchline run. Again, it's all about the group and the way that they work together, because Velasco had acres of space. I don't think anybody would have been frustrated not knowing that kind of goal was possible, that Velasco just takes on whoever that was. I think it was Van Rankin one-on-one on the dribble, because he probably could have beat Van Rankin. But again, it's the way that they play makes them look so good because it looks unselfish, because that's what it's supposed to be. No one's talent is supposed to override anyone else's. It's all about, let's pass it around, let's move around so we can get a goal. It's all about working together. And I think when those goals work, it's incredible. And that's why we love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
that's great.
Let's close out the show with 2 questions. So first of all, Jimmy gets healthy. What do you do? You're in Nico's shoes. Do you keep running with Maarten Paes, or do you let Jimmy come in?
I'm pretty sure Jimmy's already healthy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I say Paes is starter.
Maybe. So you think, all right, he's earned it.
Yeah, I think you go with the hot hand, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm sorry, but you know, I like what I've seen from Paes, and I mean, you got to keep going with him. You only have him for half the season. and then you have to decide if you're going to buy him. So let him
And
start.
we also have that young kid coming up too, who's our third stringer. He's going to get some.
Yeah.
I mean,
Shame, Jose. Shame. Some pushback on that. All right.
No, because his first season, Barrios did diddly squat, and this is Arriola's first season with FC Dallas, and Barrios didn't do anything till after the U.S. Open
First
Cup.
year. Yeah.
So in retrospect, Barrios did nothing for the first half of the season. Arriola is way ahead of the curve when it comes to the Barrios comparison. And you can look that up. You can look to see what Barrios did. And I love Barrios. I'm no disrespect to Barrios. He's a great player. I'm one of those people that was upset that he was let go. But if Barrios is still here, Arriola is not. And I'm not sure I would be okay with that.
I think going back to Paes, I think you play him until he messes up, and then once
agreed,
he messes up,
his distribution is good. He's got very good distribution.
Yeah, but I think it's actually probably worse than Jimmy's right now because Jimmy has improved a lot in the way that he passed because the way that he has such good chemistry as a leader that he's that kind of thing is intrinsic in the way that he talks with others. And I mean, it's normal for Pace to not be as good as Jimmy in that regard right now because he's new here. Again, I think Pace has been so good that I think you extend his loan or you sign him. So I think if Pace messes up, even if he messes up, you still sign him after a 6-month contract. But once Pace messes up, I think you play Jimmy because the whole thing right now with the keepers is that both of them are so good that to keep them like on their toes, you have to create a sense of competition. So, I mean, it's not like Pace is probably gonna have like one game in the future where he's not gonna do great, which is fine. It's not like he needs to be perfect every year,
right?
But I mean, Todd was attacking me last time, and now he's attacking Jose. They love these hot.
I love Todd. Arriola is not a DP, so.
But he did come to the league as a DP, I believe.
Forget it. But he's not a DP. He's not. So don't bring that DP argument my way because guess what? He's not a DP. Right now, he's a complete steal. Sonata was basically playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. This guy was going out, getting a DP guy and made him and got him as a TAM. So you say, hey, Dallas has one DP on the bench. Well, technically, you could argue that they have a DP in their pocket because Arriola is not a DP. So stop the DP arguments. Bring some TAM arguments my way. Okay, I'll accept those. And I don't care what Arriola did before he was here. I'm basing on what I'm seeing, what he's doing here. He's a player who's just entered his prime. So you could say that he was all those steps. He was getting played as DP, but he was learning. He was learning. And now he's the guy that's in his prime and has several good years ahead of him, as long as he doesn't get hurt, mind you. I don't want to jinx him. So Dallas seems, of the guys that are key to this attack, he's the one that's most likely to be sticking around. Just remember that. I'm not, hey, Tam Gam, FC Dallas was swimming in it. I want to bring up a stat. I'm not a stat guy, but Exceladino, I love that guy. He posted something and under Analysis Evolved. And even though I'm an analytics guy, I was like, okay, this is something worth watching. And he says, Jesus Ferreira is top 10 in MLS for open play XG and XA among those with 270 minutes played. The last 2 seasons to finish top 10 in both were Jordan Morris in 2020 and Carlo Velas MVP 2019. That's the level that even, before he was scoring, that's the level of play we're getting from Jesus, who, by the way, hasn't even hit his stride yet. And you can argue that about everyone in his team. This was Velasco's first start. You could argue that the team, as good as they looked against Portland, we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing just the potential of where this team could be, and that's what's exciting. There's no guarantee that that's the way it will be. But I think as fans, seeing the potential there, they're saying, holy crap, if we get a full season of this, even if it's just at home, look out. We can raise our expectations from, we may be battling to a playoff spot to, hey, we could be battling for a home playoff match. And that's something that I think every FCD fan would say is above their expectations for this season.
Well, okay. Well, let me get to my last question. And actually, Javier, congratulations to Ryan Hollingshead. A brace this week for LAFC. It's weird to see him in that other kit. It's weird to see him in that role. But yet, we celebrate the guy. 2 great goals for him with LAFC, and wish him the best. He was just a great.
And he'll never get called up because Triple G doesn't like the way Hollingshead plays, and that's just a sad shame. That I hope that he gets at least one call up on a friendly or something, just to acknowledge that he's been and is one of the best left backs in MLS. And the only reason he doesn't get called up is because, Triple G doesn't like the way he plays the spot.
Yeah. I've always said he should have got a call up. Yeah.
He deserves. Well, but let's talk about what Jesus' performance and Paul's form, for that matter, means for the United States men's national team. FC Dallas will not play this weekend. There are a few MLS games, but it's international breaks, so 3. Really,
MLS Next Pro, baby.
Yeah, some really important matches for the United States men's national team. 3 matches, right? It's right. Yeah, 3 matches, including one at Azteca, which is always the toughest place to play that you'll ever have. So there's been a lot of hand-wringing online about, who does Berhalter start and when and all that stuff. And, we'll see, of course, how he handles all that kind of stuff. But Jesus got the call-up before the match, right, earlier in the week, and there was some question about that, and yet then he responds with the hat trick. So he's entering at this time when the national team needs him. What are we expecting? What are you all expecting from Jesus and Paul's performances over these coming next week or so?
I would say more. Yeah,
go ahead, Tom.
I would say more of the same. Before Jesus had this hat trick, he was called up. He even started and scored a few goals for USA in I think they were friendlies, right? And he got called up last time, and he had assist, I believe, to one of the players in one of the games. And I thought he played well. And, it just takes some times when, the goals to come. Look at Pepe. Pepe was great here. He hasn't scored a goal yet. He's just not in a great situation. You got to be in a good situation to score goals unless you're Messi, right? Messi or Ronaldo. But I think more of the same. I couldn't be more excited for those guys, even Pepe as well. I mean, yeah, they're going to do well.
I don't know why you bring up US MNT because I can't even follow those guys on Twitter anymore. They're just ridiculous. There's a prevailing thought or talk on social media that maybe they shouldn't start their strongest team against Mexico because then they can start the strongest team in Panama and guarantee that they get a win there and they're guaranteed to be 4th and blah, blah, blah. It's Mexico. USMT should not be playing for 4th place. They should be playing for 1st place. I don't care if they lost to Canada or whatever. They should be, if they can't be 1st, they got to be 2nd. I don't want this. Let's settle for 4th place. I'm sorry. This is not.
I would like that scene.
I'm just saying, people have been going on and talking about what great talent this team has compared to other teams and blah, blah, blah. And now people are saying, we should start a weaker team against Mexico and then try. No, you start the strongest team against Mexico and then trust that your depth is good enough to beat the other teams. And I'm sorry, you got to go for 9 points. I know that's unrealistic, but
I would also say, Paxton deserves to be called up as well.
I agree. But I'm just saying some of these U.S. men's national team fans are just so ridiculous. You can't even take them seriously.
Jose, I'm sorry. I think you're drinking the Kool-Aid about how great the U.S. is, because guess what?
No,
it doesn't matter how good the U.S. is. This is CONCACAF, and it will never change, even if we have a lineup from like the top 3 teams of all the European leagues, like the players play for the top 3 teams of all European leagues. This is still CONCACAF. Right now, we are in a situation which is not unlike Cuba in 2018. It's not completely similar, but it's kind of similar. And there is a non-zero chance that the U.S. does not qualify. That is a possibility. So if that means, if beating the Panama game, like Ben is saying, if winning Panama and winning Costa Rica means that we have to lose 6-0 at the Azteca, I don't care. I will do it. You have to. Like, this is CONCACAF.
There's such a thing. There's such a thing as demoralizing your players. And if you're telling your players you're not good enough to go to Azteca and beat Mexico, then what are you telling them?
But there's a caveat. There are a lot of players hurt. McKenzie is out. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying maybe you're right. Maybe they don't start their best team, but you got to start a best-ish team that you could argue is the best team, even if it's not. You can't just say, okay, we're going to send our B team and then get slaughtered.
No, but saying, you might play for a point with players that you think you can get a point.
Exactly.
Resting the players.
You need
a
lineup that can get you a point at least. If you're going in there and starting a team that is likely to lose, that's not. I'm sorry. I agree with you that this is not as good a team as everybody says it is, but it should be good enough to put a team that's capable of at least getting a point in Mexico and winning in Panama.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
If you remember, quite a few years ago, we went to SKC. Pereira took the FC Dallas to Sporting Kansas City.
The Barrios argument. I love it.
Wait. Pereira went to Kansas City and played for a point, and they were falling down. They were wasting time. They were so mad at FC Dallas, but I think they came out with a point, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so, I'm all for starting Acosta and CONCACAFing the hell out of the game, But I'm just saying, I've not listened to Barrios. Let's talk half season. Look up what Barrios did his first season in Dallas, and then we'll compare it to what Arriola does his first season in Dallas, and then we'll talk. I'm just saying right now.
You.
Yeah, I know. I know. I love it. It's funny. I think it's like I'm a Dallas fan, and you can't convince me that Barrios had a better first start to FC Dallas than Arriola. It's like you're like, I don't care what he did.
I do remember he went like a half a season doing nothing.
My girlfriend, I always tell her, I don't care what she did before she met me, and I don't care what Arriola did before he came to FC Dallas.
So look, back to the Mexico thing. So like at the Azteca, I don't, because again, most likely we're gonna lose at the Azteca because it's the Azteca. So I mean, yes, come on, we gotta be realistic because we've lost to Canada in Canada. I mean, it's different situation, but like this USA team with all of its talent is struggling a little bit in CONCACAF. So, I mean, it's not gonna be surprising when/if we lose in the Azteca. I don't want. It's not. I don't want a player like that's so important like Adams, or a player that's so important like Zimmerman, or a player that's so important like Pulisic to be hacked down by a Mexican player because that's what they like to do in qualifying. They like to break legs. I don't want that to happen in the Azteca, and then we can't play a player that is as critical as Adams against Panama or against Costa Rica. This is the kind of calculation that you have to make when going into the final round of qualifying. You don't have it secured. You have Panama 2 points behind. You have Costa Rica 4 points, I think. This situation is not completely secured. So you have a confidence thing. You don't say, "Hey guys, I don't trust you guys." You don't demoralize the players before Azteca, but you roll out Acosta at D mid because Acosta is talented enough to maybe possibly pull it off.
Black Magic, come on now. That's why you start him.
You probably don't play Pulisic, or maybe as a sub, but you probably don't play Pulisic, and maybe you play Jesus, who's in form, instead of playing a player like Pepe, who probably is still in Greg's eyes as the number one currently. So like that's
Thank you,
that's
Todd.
the kind of
I'm with Todd. You were talking about the whole confidence thing, and I'm telling you right now, is the longer the game goes and stays even, the pressure grows on Mexico because psychologically, Mexico has. I can't remember the last time Mexico beat the U.S., and that's got to be weighing on them, and that's something that you can lean on and say, okay, maybe start a defensive minded lineup, maybe not a Pulisic, but you got to start a solid defensive lineup and say, okay, let's just keep it 0-0. And the longer this game goes, I guarantee you their own fans will start booing them. And all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, we've lost to these guys. We can't beat these guys. And you got to play on that. And maybe you don't win, but maybe you walk out of there with a point. But you have to play the hand that you're dealt, and that is psychologically you have an advantage over Mexico right now. You do.
Man,
you have
like,
to take advantage of it.
You make it sound like we haven't lost to Mexico.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah, you make it sound like we haven't lost to Mexico in the last 5 years. We lost in 2019. COVID makes it seem longer because we didn't play in 2020, and then we won 3 games in 2021. But 2021 is the first time we ever did that. I mean,
and every
loss, and none
to
of
the
them,
US
none of them were in Mexico. None of them were in Mexico. So
no, this is true. I'm just talking about from the point of psychologically, you haven't beat the U.S. and they should beat the U.S. in Azteca. I'm just saying, play a defensive first team and keep it longer. And the longer that goes, that'll start getting into their head. I mean, you can't just roll out a team that they go, oh yeah, these guys aren't trying to win at all. That's what I'm saying is if you're not going to play the A team, play the A2 team, or it's better be a team that has a chance to win. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point? Yeah, I'm just saying, okay, why not start Pulisic? Bench him early. I'm just saying, you just need him out there to try to get that one goal, and then once the goal's scored, okay, let's close it down. Let's bring in the defensive guys and hold on to that 1-0 lead. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm just saying, I want to see an attempt at 3 points in Mexico. That's what I want. I know what you guys are saying. Panama's the key. But realistically, if you go to Azteca and walk out with a point, all of a sudden, things are a little bit rosier down the road. And especially if you play not necessarily your A team, but a strong team.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
they may go in and play They may go in and play conservatively, which is not necessarily playing for a point, but not going to give away any easy and see how it goes, right? And maybe if it's 60th minute and it's 0-0, then you start bunkering in. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see.
Smart.
Yeah. And as Todd said, the coaches are going to think through this. I think we'll see. Berhalter has he's had those moments where we're like, this thing isn't working, and then those moments where he pulls it out and figures things out, and that's some of that's on the players too. We know. So,
but I think I'm glad you bring up Berhalter, because let's face it, that's where the lack of confidence in the team is. It's not necessarily on the players. It's the lack of confidence is on Berhalter. It at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Well, I thought the game against Canada came down to FC Dallas's own alumni making a mental mistake and getting beat for that first goal, and they were playing behind, right? It wasn't Burkhalter. It was really a fluke play where I'm drawing the blank of the name. The guy that
ask the average U.S. fan.
No, but they got behind early because of Chris.
I'm just saying.
Jose, you can't do that. You can't dismiss all the U.S. fans on Twitter with what they've been saying recently, and then reference
I'm not saying this wrong.
Their
I'm not saying this wrong.
of Greg and be like, they're right.
I'm just telling you. I'm just pointing it out that Berhalter is the lack of confidence of the team stems from their coach. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that is what it is. It's not Adams or Pulisic or this or that guy. It's people will tell you against Canada, he got out coached. You can't blame this player, that player. People will say, hey, Berhalter got out coached in that game, and you can't actually defend that because it was true. And that's the concern is that he'll get out coached at Azteca. That's why people are saying maybe we need to
Chris Richards
not try to win.
Yeah,
it was Matt Turner and Chris Richards.
Yep.
Which is
they gave up a terrible goal and we went down early. I didn't think it was all on coach. I thought it was it was that fluky play.
Well, look, we need to leave it there now. Again,
Saturday, North Texas.
Yeah, Saturday, North Texas is
against Minnesota United FC2, which they haven't even announced their lineup. So, and I know people don't expect too much from North Texas in this new league, but the truth is, and I'll keep reminding everybody this is North Texas, the one thing they've got going for them, they got two things going for them, but the one thing they got going for them is home field advantage. Only 3 losses in 3 years in USL League One against much better teams than the teams they're going to be seeing regularly at in MLS Next Pro. And that's not a joke. That's I expect it to be a huge home field advantage for every team. It's going to be very hard to get a point on the road. And MLS and North Texas has one of the best home field advantages in this league. And if anything, I don't expect them to be title contenders, but I do expect them to be in the playoff hunt towards the end. And you know, it's going to be the teams that, you know, Rochester or St. Louis that can play guys that should be playing in MLS in their lineup that are probably going to win the title. But I'm just saying, North Texas has a proven record at home where they're almost unbeatable. And the only team they ever lost to was Greenville. And
right.
And I think last season it was Chattanooga had their number.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they never once lost to a single MLS 2 team or any other team in USL League One in Arlington. So
it'd be interesting to see Parker play. We haven't, got to see him play because he hasn't made the roster.
That's what's exciting about it. Also, I just want to say one last thing: the 3 best academies in MLS are the Philadelphia Union, FC Dallas, and Inter Miami. Right now, is supposedly has the best talent, even though they haven't done anything. Also, the 3 youngest teams in MLS Next Pro, and honestly, watch any of those 3 teams if you're a fan of the USMNT youth
Real
program.
quick, Nathan, one thing we didn't talk about is FC Dallas has the #1 supporting group with El Matador in the league, with hands down. These guys have brought it. El Matador,
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll drink to that.
I can confirm that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yes.
Well, good. I mean, it's just so much good, and there's always going to be so many things else to talk about. Of course, no FC Dallas game this weekend, but back against Chicago the following weekend. So in between, but enjoy the soccer, enjoy the United States men's national team, and North Texas SC. That's right.
One final note: the first game of MLS Next Pro is going to be St. Louis versus Rochester on Friday night. All games are going to be streamed live on MLSNextPro.com. Gibran Rayo is playing for Rochester, so there's your one FCD Academy player to keep an eye on.
And we didn't even do Dom Dwyer watch. The legend, FC Dallas legend, who got a red card after like 3 minutes. Yeah, all right. Two former FC Dallas, former FC Dallas players got red cards this past weekend.
2 red cards, yeah.
And then the week before, I think Breck Shea did. So we just been these guys.
Yeah,
something's going on there.
I thought Velasco got off. He could have possibly gotten a red for that foul. That was, if he wouldn't have been so small, I think that was a nasty tackle.
I will say that the stars don't get red carded as easily as the regular MLS players.
I agree. I'm with
throwing
you.
that out there.
I agree with you. It's a business.
All right, it's called the Garber rule thing.
That's right,
yeah.
the Gerber rule.
Yeah.
Finally, shines its light in FC Dallas' favor.
Well, good night, everybody, and just remember, if you missed the live show, we do have our podcast available, and it is available on Google and Apple and Spotify and other places. So be sure to subscribe, listen, leave a review, help us spread the word, help us grow the show. Appreciate all the viewers tonight, all the great comments and questions. You
I appreciate awesome. Todd, man. You were on point today with those comments. Thanks.
Yeah, I like those.
We'll keep it going.
Tags.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, guys.